going to college. Number 10.
I don't think the Rams could duplicate that effort again this season, but Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Rob Havenstein. I mean, they've got pieces here. They've got 5 or 6 really top-of-the-chart pieces. And when Matt Stafford has time to throw, and they didn't allow a sack against Buffalo, he is beautiful. He's what Aaron Rodgers wishes he still was. When you give Stafford time to throw, he's in that Burrow class. It is just different. Rams at 10.
Number 9.
You know, the Seahawks, look at Baltimore's defense since Seattle hired their coordinator as head coach. Held in 3 of their last 4 games, they've held offenses under 20 points. And Geno Smith, you know, he's second in the league in completions to Joe Burrow, but they're on a 4-game winning streak since the bye. I think John Snyder has put together the last couple of years excellent drafts, and I don't think there are a lot of holes in this roster. I don't think they're special at quarterback, but they're certainly good enough, I think, to make the playoffs and potentially win a playoff game. Seattle at 9.
Number 8.
Steelers. George Pickens' absence really was impactful. They really need him, but Russell Wilson, 6-1 as a starter. Here's what I like. They're 4-0 against teams with winning records. So they tend, it's Mike Tomlin's history is he is a great underdog coach. Now, they got the Eagles coming up at Philly, at the Ravens, and the Chiefs. So we're going to find out, contender or pretender in the next 3 weeks.
Number 7.
The Ravens. Listen, they have 5 losses by a combined 22 points. They're losing to teams like, you know, the Chiefs. Number 1 total offense, number 2 rushing offense. Listen, they get penalized way too much. That is a problem. And their pass defense, what I don't like about this team, they're like a baseball team with a bad bullpen. They can outplay and lose. This team can outplay you, but on the back end, they are leaking so much oil that they can lose games they should win. So I think Baltimore is out of the Super Bowl bubble with the back end of their defense.
Number 6.
You keep waiting for the Minnesota bubble to burst, and they're on a 6-game winning streak, 7-1 in one-score games. You know who else is good at one-score games? Kansas City. Really good coaches and good quarterbacks are good in one-score games. Sam Darnold, in the last month, 11 touchdowns, no picks. There was an aspiring young sportscaster years ago that said he was going to be a great player. Hey, it took a while. Hey, all I know is this. Minnesota's really good. Are they great? I don't know.
Number 5.
The Packers are closer to great. Now, I think they're a year away. They're like Detroit last year. They're really young. But they become a power run team behind Josh Jacobs. So they are taking a lot of the responsibility from Jordan Love, who can be a tad reckless despite being an excellent talent. So they are now kind of a power running team. And for years and years with Aaron Rodgers, we were always like, they don't have much of a run game. Oh, they got it now. Josh Jacobs, they got it now. Green Bay at 5.
Number 4.
Buffalo, super talented, but they beat themselves. Rams, they had a block punt, 9 guys on the field. They're 2-3 against winning record teams. Why? Because you got to have it buttoned up against winning record and winning teams. Now, they're not allowing sacks anymore. And the Rams had a good defensive front. That's why Josh Allen's putting up these numbers. I like their roster. I like their momentum, but I don't trust them in big games. And the Rams are an inferior team to the Bills. And the Rams blocked a punt. And the Rams didn't waste a timeout at the goal line. So Buffalo's great. And my final 4 teams, I think, are Super Bowl teams, but they really concern me in close games.
Number 3.
Philadelphia, so do they. Nick Sirianni. Now we've got A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts don't get along. But clearly since the bye, the coaching staff has been very intentional. They've become a run team over a pass team. Clearly Saquon Barkley is leading them. It's got a Christian McCaffrey Niners feel. Like they like the quarterback, don't love him. So I think it's a very, very good team. I think they have the best roster in the league, slightly better than Detroit. But I've got my issues in tight spots with the coach and the quarterback.
Number 2.
Kansas City, first team in NFL history to have 3+ kickers with game-winning field goals as time expired in a single season. Listen, they're 10-0 in games decided by 7 or less. And you can keep telling me it's luck. It's not luck. It's their brand. It's their business model. They're such a complex team because they're the best third down team in the sport, and yet they're only averaging 5 yards a play, which is the worst in the Mahomes era. So they're not as explosive. They're not going to give you the total yards. They're not going to blow you away, but they've never been better than on third down. So that's the complexity of this dynasty. It's got a Patriots feel. You don't feel they have the best roster, but they have the best coach, the best quarterback, and like Michael Jordan, when you need a bucket, that's the team you want. KC at 2.
Number 1.
By an inch, Detroit. Listen, since week 9 of 2022, they're 34-9, half of them blowouts. They have the number 1 scoring offense and the number 1 offensive line. They're the one team I think could make Mahomes sit on the sidelines and watch a game. I trust Mahomes to beat everybody in this league. Detroit has the personnel to say, we're going to play keep away and have a 9-minute drive. So that's the kind of personnel they have. And the other thing is about Detroit is Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. Hasn't hurt the defense. Now, I think a lot of that is because they lead, and so their defense knows what's coming, right? They're not in a lot of close games, so the defense can pin their ears back and go for the pass rush, but I have them as by an inch as a number 1 team, and now we go to...
Okay. This is a juicy one. I'm not going to squabble at this point of the season where to put exactly everyone here, honestly. I think, let me go one by one. The Rams, I don't think that they can duplicate what they did against the Bills, because I think that was truly their best shot. When we talk about teams giving their best shot and stuff like that, yeah, maybe they're trying their best at any given moment, but it doesn't mean that they're playing like at their max capacity. We saw that Rams offense at max capacity. And I don't think that they're going to be able to continue to do that. And their defense has been kind of an issue, especially against better teams. And so I don't know how that will age and how that will be come time playoffs. The Seahawks, I for this whole season, I haven't known what to do with the Seahawks. Honestly, I really, really don't. I think that they are a playoff team and can win a playoff game, but I don't see them in like the NFC Championship game. That would truly blow me away. Really, that would absolutely blow me away. I would be just like, oh my God, how did that happen? And I would then, if that did happen, I would go back and rewatch all those games. I would probably watch like the extended highlights that are on like NFL Plus or Prime, whatever it's called, those hour-long highlights, because I would have to be like, okay, how did I miss this? Because I just don't see where they can go, honestly, and how high they can go. And with the Steelers, it is kind of funny to me how low he has the Steelers at 8. I think the Steelers are significantly better. He said, no, we're about to find out, are they pretenders or contenders? And again, how is that fair, though, then? If they lose to the Chiefs, that means they're pretenders? Because we're the Bills pretenders for losing to the Ravens, and the Ravens losing to the Chiefs losing to the Bills? Like, I don't really think that's fair. And their record would be better if they didn't have if they didn't start with Justin Fields. I don't know where that just came from. Justin Fields. And so then they would have a little bit more wiggle room to lose a game or two. But definitely that game against the Cowboys really, really hurt them. And the Colts, for that matter. And so I just don't think that I think people still continue to sleep on the Steelers and how good of a team they are. And now Colin says the Ravens, he says that they can't win because of their defense. I disagree with that, because I still have an insane belief and fear at any given moment what Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are going to do. I'm actually really excited to see what they look like coming out from their last loss. Their last loss was against the Eagles. And I'm really excited to see what they got cooking. It seems like Lamar Jackson wants to change things up a bit. And I'm fascinated, truly, truly fascinated to see what that's going to look like. Is there going to be a shift? Because I think they're going to kind of change up their game plan, change up how they kind of approach their offense. They're also probably going to rely on Justin Tucker a little bit less. So it's going to be interesting. Are they going to start to go for it more on fourth downs? Are they just going to call different plays? Like I'm really excited to see what they can do. And I am just not counting out Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry alone. Just those two dudes alone on offense. I'm just who feels comfortable with those guys having the ball? I don't. So yeah, the defense could be lacking and causing some issues, but like they can still put up points with the best of them. That's obvious. The Minnesota Vikings, I am not waiting for the bubble to pop. Like, and he says they're a good team. I don't know if they're a great team. Then what is a great team then? Seriously, what is a great team then? If the Lions can lose to the Bucks, not a top 10 team. If the Bills can get rolled by the Ravens, who are not a top 5 team, right? I mean, like that, like what is considered a great team? Like, how are we defining great? It's tough because great means one thing and greatness means something different, right? Greatness pretty much means like elite, special, legendary. Great means like you're great. I look at it as good, great, elite. So are the Vikings elite? Probably not, but I don't actually know any team that's elite. I think the Chiefs have elite coaching and game management, and the Lions have an elite offense. But I wouldn't necessarily say that those are two elite teams. And I would say the same thing about the Bills. But I don't know. I don't think there's any elite team this year. Last year, there was multiple elite teams. In 22, there was multiple elite teams. And so I think a lot of these teams are great. And I put the Minnesota Vikings in the great category. And I'm not so sure if I would put the Packers ahead of the Vikings. Again, all of these teams I would really put in the same tiers, honestly, at this point. I would put them all in the same bucket. And yeah, the Packers, again, I mean, I think the Packers are a great team as well. It's going to be interesting to see what the Packers can do come time playoffs. I think them losing that Lions game definitely made me kind of just pause for a second. I didn't lose any faith in them, but it definitely made me pause. That is a game that I think that they should have been able to win, and they didn't. And a lot of it was self-inflicted in that first half, and that you just can't have that. The Lions were badly injured, and the Packers just did not do enough to take advantage of it. And I think because their team is so young, in order of what they can accomplish this season, what it's really going to boil down to is, can they mature and grow within these next few weeks? Can things start to really click and register in these next few weeks? And can they take that step forward? That's a question mark. I have no idea, honestly, and no one does. Then you have the Bills. Again, we see who Josh Allen is. I understand if you're going to doubt the Bills team as a whole in the franchise, because you look at a game like the Rams and you're just like, and then you look at a game like the Chiefs versus the Chargers, and you can see the difference in game management and approach. You can see how the Chiefs played the way how they wanted to play, whereas the Bills just had to do whatever they could, especially Josh Allen had to do whatever he could just to keep up with the Rams. And again, they definitely got one of the Rams' best game of the decade, quite frankly. I mean, that was one of Stafford's best games ever, and probably Puka Nacua was one of his best games ever. And so I believe that the Rams are significantly better than what their record shows and just their reputation as a whole is. So it's like, it's not like this is like an awful loss where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they lost to the Rams, because the Rams are not a bad team by no means. They're a good team, but a team that could be great. They could easily be a top 5 team if they were healthy and all of that. And they clearly obviously have elite pieces like Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford. That alone is going to make you deadly out there. So it's not like that loss from the Bills is like this, like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. But it was also just kind of the way in which it unfolded. Both gave you optimism for the Bills and pessimism for the Bills, because you're like, oh my God, Josh Allen is unbelievably amazing. And who's better than Josh Allen? No one. But then you're like, oh my God, what are some of these decisions that they've made? Why did you come out so sluggish in the first half? How do you allow a blocked punt, return for a touchdown? Like, there's all those things that then make you kind of nervous, because you're like, well, are the Bills going to be able, can Josh Allen do what he did against the Chiefs? And if he does it against the Chiefs, can he do it and not have the defense give up 44 points? You know, can the Bills throw up 35 points against the Chiefs and have and have that Bills defense contain Mahomes and that offense? Like, that's the question that no one has the answer to. So we're about to find out soon enough. And then you have the Eagles. The Eagles, again, clearly a top team in the NFL. No one can deny that. But people see them as being kind of fragile. I think I think between the Lions and the Eagles, people compare both these rosters as being the top in the NFL. But I feel that there's probably a sense that the Lions are more resilient than the Eagles. And you have the Eagles having some issues now with like AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, and so who knows how that's going to all unfold. But I think like when you look at the lines and you say, well, look, if they played the Panthers, they destroy them by 40 points or whatever, and you have the Eagles, and the Eagles are coming down to the final stretch, and it's like, okay, so what do you do with that? And if you're comparing it to the Chiefs, you're like, well, hey, the Chiefs come down to these close wins, and it's like, yes, but the Chiefs know how to win situationally like that consistently, as we have seen. You're not going to really bank on the Eagles to be able to do that, and so that's probably is why a lot of people feel that the Eagles have a little bit more fragility in terms of their level of greatness. Still great though, regardless. And then you have the Chiefs. It's really interesting that Colin keeps talking about their close record, because I just specifically remember him talking about the Minnesota Vikings and how they kept winning all these close games, and it was like 7, 8, 9 in a row, whatever it was, and he kept saying that that's a bad thing, they're not actually that good, there's concerns about that'll catch up to you. It's why he thought that in the following year that the Vikings weren't going to be good. Kirk Cousins ended up getting injured, so you can't really use that as a frame of reference, but that was his whole kind of thing, saying, hey, they won a lot of these close games, they're not that good. But now with the Chiefs, he's saying, no, it's a marker of their greatness. And again, I get it, Andy Reid, Mahomes, Spags are going to be different than Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins. I get it, although Colin is very high on Kirk Cousins, so and Kevin O'Connell, so it is interesting. But yes, in close games, obviously we know the Chiefs do it better than anyone else. To me, the real question is can they play a team? If they play a team like the Bills, if they played the Ravens again or the Lions, would it actually be a close one-score game? That to me remains the biggest question, because of course it's going to be a one-score game against the Chargers. I mean, isn't it a bad look that it was a one-score game against the Panthers, against the Bucks? Like, to me, those are what makes the Chiefs such a fascinating team to try to figure out in terms of who they are. And then you have the Lions. I mean, again, the Lions are obviously dominant and well worthy to be the number 1 seed. They are obviously banged up on defense. It hasn't necessarily hurt them, but they obviously have some pretty big games over these next few weeks. They got more divisional games. They're playing the Bills. So we're also going to see, like, what does Josh Allen do against a non-100% defense? To me, that's going to be fascinating to see as well. Unfortunately, we are getting a couple of these key matchups late in the year that we might see in the playoffs, Super Bowl, etc. I kind of wish that wasn't necessarily the case. I wish it was a little bit maybe early on, or just not at all, honestly. But we're definitely going to get data. We're definitely going to get information, and I'm excited for that. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Colin's herd hierarchy, top 10 teams? Any teams that are missing, any issues with, where the teams are? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here. I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.